Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, March 26th, 2024. We do have a couple of public comment periods during this meeting. One is towards the beginning of the meeting on any agenda items, and there's another public comment period at the end of the meeting on anything you wish to speak about. In each public comment period, individuals have up to 3 minutes to provide their remarks. There are public comment forms at the back of the room. I encourage you to complete that comment form, providing your name and home address. Note I will not be sharing your home address publicly, nor will I be asking you to announce it when you speak. But it is for our records. And so you complete that public comment form and hand it to the clerk's desk at the end. We would appreciate that. During the meeting, please maintain decorum, no outbursts from the audience. If you do have something to share with us, please avail yourself of the public comment period. We will be welcoming comment by phone as well, so folks that are not in person with us can still give their input. And so when we get to public comment phone-in time, there'll be a phone number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. People can call and we'll welcome your input. Before we get into the business of our meeting, we're going to be led in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're being led in prayer by Pastor E.J. Wood of All Shores Wesleyan Church. If you wish to join us, I ask that you stand or remove caps if you're capable of doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. If you would like to, I invite you to join me in prayer. Loving and gracious God, we come before you with thankful hearts, thankful for the privilege and opportunity that it is to serve our city. We're thankful for all that is being done across our city and look forward to what is still to come. God, we're also thankful for the leadership of our city commission. I thank you for these leaders here who have responded to the call to serve through governance. I pray that you would increase in each of them wisdom, discernment, integrity, and a servant's heart. I pray that you would help each of us as citizens to honor these individuals placed in leadership, as you give them vision for what is best for this community of Muskegon. Would you help us together to live peaceful lives in godliness and holiness? Father, would you make us into a community of upright living, social concern, and personal integrity? Lord, as the business of tonight's meeting is conducted, I pray that your spirit of wisdom would be present in this place, that you would give direction where it's needed, patience for each of us when things are not clear, and grace where there's differences of opinion. On this week of Easter, I ask that our city would be a reflection of your kingdom, bringing healing where there's brokenness, reconciliation where there's division, and resurrection where things appear to be dead. Finally, may you bless this great city of Muskegon and cover it with your favor. Bring healing where there's hurt, unity where there's division, and peace where there's unrest. I pray that you unite our leaders and community for one purpose of bringing a reflection of heaven to earth. Thank you again for those gathered here tonight, and bless this meeting time together. In your loving and powerful name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Here.
Commissioner Keener?
Absent.
Absent.
Sorry.
Commissioner German?
Here.
Commissioner Gorman? Here.
Thank you. First up, we have an honor. It is an honor to introduce a new staff member, Sarah Mean, with our Planning Department, Development Services Division, as Planner 2. And we have our Planning Director, Mike Franczyk, who's going to introduce her. Welcome.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome our newest addition to the Planning Department, our new Planner 2, Sarah Romine. She comes over from the private sector. She's also worked for the City of Norton Shores as well, so she's very familiar with the area. And she's hit the ground running and helped us out immensely so far in the Planning Department. So I'd like to introduce Sarah to everybody.
Welcome, Ms. Romine.
Nice to meet you.
You have anything you wish to share with us this evening?
I'm enjoying the job so far. People, so it's been great.
Awesome. Well, welcome aboard, and we're happy to have you.
Just to inform you, she's taking over this planner 2 for Sam Poulos, who was promoted to the code coordinator, who she took over for Hope Griffith's position. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have public comment on agenda items. I do not have any forms for people wishing to speak on an agenda item. There's still time, though, if you do wish to speak on an agenda item. Seeing no one, then we'll go to the phones. That number is 231-724-6721. We'll give that a few minutes. All right, any phone calls?
No, Mayor.
All right, we're going to move on from public comment then. Again, there will be public comment at the end of our meeting, so if you have something to share, there'll be another time for you. All right, we're moving on to our consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate deliberation and vote? Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Items C and E.
C and E.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Cochin.
Item D.
Item D. Did I see Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes. Item B is in boy.
Yes, Commissioner German.
Item F, as in Frank.
Basically, everything today.
All right. So that leaves on the consent agenda item A, approval of minutes. That's it.
That's it.
Item A, approval of minutes. All right, for roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, item B, purchase of 1698 Wood Street. Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes. Move to approve CNS staff to purchase 1689 Wood Street for rehabilitation and resale.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Welcome. You reporting out on this item? Yeah. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sharonda Carson, Director of Community Neighborhood Services.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you for being with us, Ms. Carson. I just really want to know two things. One, the financial side of things, so the purchase and the rehabilitation cost, and then is this the first house that your department is rehabbing, and what do you all see the vision as? Multiple homes, or what is the department's vision for the rehabilitation project?
So the rehab is going to be funded by our home dollars. This is not our first time doing this. This is going to be the first one that we're doing this year. So we're predicting about a purchase of $65,000 and maybe $50,000 in actual rehab costs. The house has already been brought down to the studs, which makes our job pretty much easy. There may be a little bit of a change to the floor plan, but the house is big. We're excited about the undertaking. And this is one, and I am looking at several more for the future to rehab. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, one follow-up question. Once you're done with these are being advertised to the low and moderate income tract
Right.
folks for home ownership?
Yes.
Awesome. Nothing further.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioner Cochin?
Yes. I just wanted to see if you guys had an estimate for what you guys would be selling it for.
We do not. The plan is for it to remain affordable. If I had to guesstimate, I would say no more than 130,000.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Any other questions, Commissioner? Commissioner German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Carlson, for being here today. As you stated, this is not the first project that the city has done
No.
rehabilitating these homes, and I'm quite aware of that. I know we talked about grant money coming in for projects like this. Did the city receive that grant to move forward and implement the projects like for rehabilitating the homes?
Yep. So what happens is every year we receive home dollars, and a portion of that is allocated for rehabilitation. When we sell those houses, the funding goes in to support our home buyers program. So that's how we fund our home buyers program.
Okay. And your department, was it the economic department, last year applied for a state grant, was it, to take on major projects and to buy homes and to allow citizens to get those homes or fund them to rehabilitate these homes? Do you recall that?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. Look like I remember Director Ekholm talking about something similar to that. Or was it?
I mean, the CNS has a number of different services that help with roof repair, roof replacement, window repair. So there's a number of different programs that are available through there. There was a grant program that we applied for in October that was a federal one.
Was that the CDBG Pro?
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring
that
to?
might be what it is.
Yeah,
We haven't heard anything about that, and we
Okay.
requested information regarding that
Okay.
grant. We did submit all the required documentation, but we have not received any answers. They were in a quiet period the last time I had reached out, and they weren't allowed to answer any of my questions.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Any other questions, Commissioners? All right. Thank you, Director Carson.
Thank you, guys.
I did talk through it. Remember what it was.
Next item, C, CSX. Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta vote.
Sounded like it was unanimous, right? I mean, everyone was supportive. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now, next item of C, CSX Property Restrictive Covenant. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I move for the approval of a response activity plan and restrictive covenant regarding the recently purchased CSX rail corridor and permission for the mayor to sign the restrictive covenant, subject to approval by the state.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner German. Welcome, sir. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Dan Vanderhyde, Director of Public Works for the city.
Thank you. Would you care to just briefly report out on this item?
Certainly. So this is a part of the what we're calling the conversion process. This is related to the changes that are happening on the Adelaide Point property and Hartshorn Village property. The bike trail on that property is being essentially relocated, and as a part of that, we have to get approval by the state, and in this case, by the Federal National Park Service, because of the funding that was used to build that trail. The National Park Service has provided preliminary approval of trading, essentially, the CSX rail corridor that was purchased in order to make up for the loss of trail on the Adelaide Point property. We would what's called encumber the CSX property, and that property would be then subject to federal review if it were ever to be changed for recreation purposes. As a part of that process, we have to do environmental work on the property, and that environmental work uncovered some higher concentrations of certain chemicals in the soil of the property, as you might expect, with it being 150-year-old rail line. So, as a part of that process then, we are applying to a different department of the state, the Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Department, to place upon that property an encumbrance that requires us to follow a plan in order to deal with those higher concentrations of chemicals. This is the application to Eagle, to the State Department that oversees this stuff, for them to take a look and see if they agree with the plan we are proposing.
Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Thank you. Thank you for that very thorough explanation. I am wondering if you can also clarify, is this regarding the entire rail bed that we acquired or just the area through Adelaide Point?
This is the entire rail corridor that we acquired. That entire rail corridor will be encumbered if the conversion process reaches completion. So it would be over the entire rail corridor. The concentrations were found only in I guess a few certain locations along the piece of property, and the plan details all of that, but the restrictive covenant will cover the entire property since it is a single parcel.
Okay. And then that would ensure that that could only be used for recreational purposes going forward?
The conversion process, which is a little bit different than this, will ensure that. Okay. This will ensure that anyone, if there were ever some future owner other than the city, that they would also know that there is environmental contamination and how the state has approved the remediation and management of that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Any Commissioner Coach?
No, I got a question about that. Good evening, Director Vanderhyde. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us tonight. I do have a couple of questions, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the materials that were found there and the idea that's been proposed. So my first question is, can you tell me why Fishbeck did not do any research to whether or not there's PFAS located on that site?
I am not entirely sure that they didn't, to be honest with you, Commissioner. I can find out. Fishbeck did the environmental work as a part of the purchase. This is additional environmental work that was done by a consultant called Ramboll. The DNR is requiring that additional or separate environmental work was completed as a part of the conversion process, separate from what was done by Fishbeck as the purchase process. The Fishbeck document I don't have with me tonight or available, so I'm not sure specifically whether they did or didn't look into PFAS on that property.
Thank you. And then the follow-up with that is I wanted to just kind of let people know that this language is written up, and I thought it was written up really well, where there are restrictions in this restrictive covenant, making sure that if we go with any kind of covering for the mitigation purposes, that the future people will know that there are contaminated surfaces below. And I really appreciated the work that's been put in and the language that's put in to make sure that there is monitoring at this site, which is long, so it's multiple sites. And also, that you guys are really doing a good job of considering public safety on this one, and I appreciate that. I think that I liked that there was an option there for capping it with a pavement, because if we can't do remediation, which I'm assuming you guys have looked into.
So the specifics of the proposal are in the locations where the chemicals are higher than allowable for either inhalation or essentially touching. We're proposing first that we place 2 feet of clean soil, and essentially either it could be placed on top, or if grade change isn't required or desired, it could be placed instead of the top 2 feet. And if Eagle agrees with that proposal, that is our preferred method. If not, then yes, there may be sections that need to be paved in order to create a hard cap over these areas. If that's the case, then our intent would be to incorporate them into the trail as, amenity spaces, right? If we're required to pave a certain portion of it, that perhaps there might be reasons for folks to want to spend time on that pavement, such as benches.
Well, I think that could definitely give us a lot of opportunities, and I think that the cap with the pavement would probably be the best case scenario. I'm not one to say that because stormwater runoff is a big concern of mine, but when you're talking about a contaminated area, capping it with a non-permeable barrier is preferred.
Yeah, like I said, we'll see what the state allows us to do. Perhaps there's discussions that should be had, but I think from the city's original goal with encumbering this property was to create more of a greenway or essentially provide additional recreation space adjacent to the trail. And I think hopefully, given the extent of some of the areas where the chemicals were discovered, hopefully we don't have to end up paving all of those areas, because it would really change the character of what we're hoping to achieve.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. Before you go, just a clarification, because towards the beginning you mentioned this was precipitated by the relocation of the Adelaide Point, the Lakeshore Trail through the Adelaide Point property, just so that everybody at home and in the audience knows that this is not the replacement of that trail. We're still keeping that trail through the Adelaide Point property, and that's just actually being shifted closer to the waterfront, actually. And because we're even moving it just a few feet, that triggers this conversion process, and this is how we're satisfying that conversion process. Is that a correct assessment?
That is correct.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanderhyde. Appreciate your work on this. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Keener. Absent. Commissioner German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up, item D, contract award of H92344 Edgewater and H92340 Millard. Commissioner Cochin.
Thank you. I move to authorize staff to enter into a contract with McCormick Sand Incorporated in the amount of $822,395 for the reconstruction of Edgewater and Millard according to the construction plans.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin.
So, Director Vanderhyde, I just had one question in regards to this bid. When I was reading the packet, it said that the bid came in over budget by almost $300,000, but then underneath it was listed as a budgeted item. Can you kind of elaborate for people what that might look like, why it's written like that?
Sure. It is. So we did get prices that were quite a bit higher than anticipated. We were initially surprised, but in looking at the bids and how close the prices are to each other, and then also in talking with one of the contractors who is not the recommended contractor, or not the low bid contractor, they gave some details on why they felt the pricing was accurate the way that it is. So we agree with the contractors at this point that that is what the projects are going to cost. We do think they're necessary. The budgeted boxes there, we did budget for these projects, but we only budgeted about $550,000 for them instead of $850,000. So they were budgeted, but the next section there, budget amendment needed, indicates that although they were budgeted, the budget must go up if we're going to award the contract in this way. Good news is, as I described there, we have some money in the streets fund that can cover it, and we think this is a good use of it, and we will take a look at the capital improvement plan through this current budgeting process that we're entering, and making sure that, the fund reserves that we do spend down, they impact any future projects, that'll be accounted for in next year's budget.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Kilgo.
Yeah, so on that same topic, if we approve this, then you're saying you're not necessarily having to go over budget because you have funds in another project that you can pull from to where you're not going to be $300,000 over budget. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially. That as the I'll give you a little background here. The streets funds are the majority of the money in them comes from gas taxes that we collect, or that the state and the federal government collects and distributes to us. The streets fund is a separate account, and so it maintains its own balance based on the incomes and expenses it has. So, although the budget for the highway fund this year, I don't have it in front of me, but let's just say it was $2 million. The budget for the highway fund was $2 million. We received more than that in revenue, and there's a fund balance that's carried over from year to year. And so we may have to adjust the budget from, say, 2 million to 2.3 million on the basis of this award. But that it really has two effects. First, it would only reduce the fund balance. There's a good balance in the streets fund right now, which is part of the reason we're proposing to do some of these local streets with that money. And also, we plan many years out on the capital improvement plan for street projects. And so if the fund balance were to be drawn down to a point where we felt we couldn't continue with a certain project next year, for example, it would simply go to the following year. It wouldn't get canceled necessarily. It would just be the next project on the list for the following year. So, specifically, but
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And then one follow-up question. Speaking of the street fund, is the street fund what we use to, like, spring is here and we're starting to see our streets again, see some of the damage that winter did to some of our streets? Is that street fund used to, like, temporarily fix bigger chunks in our roads?
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess just one additional thing, and Director Vanderhyde did a wonderful job explaining it. The best way to think about a fund balance is like our savings account, and so we dip into that to do these type of projects to keep things on track. So it's generally revenue that's come in past years or revenue that was in excess of what we were expecting, so that we have the flexibility within our budget to do these type of things. And it's a different account than what we than the general fund, than what we use to do general operations.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other questions, commissioners? All right. Director Vanderhyde, so this project, with regard to Edgewater, that is inclusive of the reconfiguration? Okay.
Yes.
And so this project, both of these projects came about as a result of the commission last year wishing to look at local streets that we can reconstruct or do serious repairs to. So there were 4 streets identified. These are 2 of them. Happy to see us doing this work with our local streets. And I know the folks in Millard are thrilled with that because it's barely a road at this point. With regard to Edgewater, though, the precipitous for us, part of the precipitous for us selecting Edgewater is that we were already going to be in there. 2 things. We were already going to be needing to do the lead service line replacements along that stretch. Plus, we already have a major project nearby in the Bluffton neighborhood, so we're piggybacking off that. And throughout that process, you had identified a way to reconfigure that intersection of Lakeshore and Edgewater for cost savings versus just reconstructing as is, but with the added benefit or expected benefit of improving safety in that area for pedestrians particularly, but also trying to induce slowing of traffic there. Could you, that's all correct?
It is.
Okay. Could you speak to, because there was some concern amongst neighbors and property owners nearby about that reconfiguration. Could you speak to the reconfiguration, what that entails, and then also your subsequent conversations, since this was brought to the commission late last fall, your subsequent conversations with our neighbors and property owners over there?
Yeah. So the specific reconfiguration of the intersection will involve removing what we call a slip lane or the bypass lane. So essentially, you will not be able to, if you're heading we'll call it toward the beach, since directions are confusing in that part of the world. If you're heading toward the beach, you will not be able to go straight onto Edgewater anymore. You will have to begin to curve on Lakeshore and then make a right turn onto Edgewater. That, as you mentioned, is
Sloping right turn, right? Not a 90-degree angle turn.
It's going to be designed such that a highway truck can get through the intersection.
Okay.
Because the yacht club receives food deliveries from companies like Gordon, Cisco, etc., and those come in on highway semis occasionally. So that's what it's been designed for, and everyone has agreed, the yacht club in particular, that is more than enough.
It works.
For their needs at that intersection. And so it'll be effectively, it will be a traditional intersection. The intersection will tee into Lakeshore. The center lines, so to speak, of the streets will meet at 90 degrees, but the radius of that right turn will be designed to allow that highway semi to navigate the intersection. We met with, as you said, we heard some feedback from, in particular, the Vikings organization and the yacht club. So we met with them at the Vikings, heard all of their concerns, explained a lot of the reasons behind the intersection changes. It came out that a big part of the concerns on the part of the Vikings were their driveways and how they would operate, and on the part of the yacht club, as we mentioned, that they'd be able to get certain boat sizes and trailers and so forth in there. And by designing it in the way that we are, with that radius designed for a highway semi-truck and driveways for the Vikings operating or looking very similar to what they do today, with the one stipulation that one will be one way in and another will be one way out. Everyone was amenable to those solutions, and so we moved forward, and here we are.
Okay. Well, I am grateful for your engagement with the property owners and the residents over there and the business owners over there to take their concerns into consideration and make tweaks to the project. Happy to hear that we're going to be able to accommodate those larger vehicles there. I'm a little perplexed by the 90-degree angle because I thought that the engineering that we've seen before was not a 90-degree angle there, but I'm not an engineer, and so I might have been mistaken about that. I was almost certain that it was not a 90-degree angle there. But you're telling me that even with that, we're going to be able to service the larger vehicles and the trailers and everything else through that intersection.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the stuff that's in the island, that's in the entrance to the Beach Road Lufton neighborhood, that's going to be moved to the peninsula that we're creating with this project. And then there'll be a pedestrian walkway connecting Hager's Hideaway and Vikings through that peninsula.
Correct. Yep. There's a crosswalk there today. It's kind of a little bit hidden at this point because it's beyond the intersection, but we're going to move it ahead of the intersection if you're headed out to the beach, which will help pedestrian safety and will make that more visible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. I see Commissioner Cochin.
Yeah, point of clarification maybe for you or Jonathan. So when we're voting on the contract award, we're not necessarily voting to approve the change in the reconfiguration because that was already voted on, right?
Well, it's by authorizing the contract, it's authorizing that change in the structure of the road. But generally, road engineering changes are those are generally from the recommendation of engineers, and not something that we usually dive too much into on the commission because we don't want to get into design by committee type of a thing. Mm-hmm. So because this is a change in the vibe over there, we wanted to make sure that we were being transparent with that. But this I guess is technically the commission's approval of it at this point, because it's the approval of the contract. So yeah, sorry if that was a little convoluted, but
that's okay.
Okay.
I'm glad you guys clarified it.
Any follow-up? No? All right. Any other questions for Director Vanderhyde at this time? No? Thank you, Director Vanderhyde. Any comments before we go to vote? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
No.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, extension of partnership agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of the Muskegon Lake Shore. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Thank you. I move to authorize staff to contract with the Boys and Girls Club of the Muskegon Lake Shore for temporary staffing services during the 2024 maintenance season.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner German. And we have Director Vanderhyde with us on this item as well. Do you wish to give a quick report out on this item?
I'll just say that Director Karczewski was unable to be here tonight, so I'm standing in. But essentially, this is a re-up of a 2-year contract that we had with the Boys and Girls Club previously. That arrangement worked very well. This is a small expansion of that program, really because the Community Encompass program cannot continue. So the portion of the funds that were devoted to that program, the Boys and Girls Club said they could do a little more, and so we are happy to support that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor St. Clair?
So to clarify, this is the Boys and Girls Club will provide individuals to work as seasonal park staff.
Yeah, basically, they provide in the current form of the agreement 2 crews. Sometimes they have enough supervisors, 2 supervisors to split the crew. Sometimes they work together, but eight student individuals come every day during the summer and work with our Parks Department, and they perform all kinds of tasks. Yes, typically the things that our seasonals would do. So we send them to a park and ask them to weed along a fence, or send them downtown and ask them to pick up trash along Western, or any number of things along the bike path. There's lots of ways that this program helps us, and Boys and Girls Club have indicated that it also helps them and gives a good path for some of their community members to a path essentially to learn employment. So.
Do you know what the age range is for the young folks that will be working? Ish.
Yeah, I don't know the specific age range, but it's somewhere in the 16, 18 range like that.
So not child labor. But
Definitely not.
teenage summer jobs.
Only people who
Perfect.
are
Thank you.
eligible to work, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, Director Vanderhyde, I just wanted to touch base with you and see if maybe you could elaborate. If somebody wanted to get involved in doing this and be hired to do it, how would they go about doing that?
Sure. So the Boys and Girls Club is the one who hires the particular students or community members in this case. So I would encourage them to go to the Boys and Girls Club, get involved in at least this program, maybe others, and ask to be a part of this crew. And I think, I know that it they didn't have any issues filling the program from a student perspective. If anyone's interested in helping to supervise this group of students, I would really encourage them to reach out, because they did have some issues at a certain point in the year filling that second supervisor position. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Any other questions for Director Vanderhyde? Commissioners? Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. This is great to see our youth being able to work and partake in the community services and work in the city. Of course, it helps build, social skills, responsibility, working in a structured environment. Just reflecting back when I was younger, it was hard to get jobs, at that age. So to have something available for our youth is definitely a good thing. So I'm all in favor of supporting this.
Thank you, Commissioner German. All right, thank you, Director Vanderhyde.
Okay.
Any final thoughts before we go to vote, Commissioners? All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Borman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, F, sale of 466 and 486 Erickson, 1172, 1243, and 1357 Marquette, 1554 Marcoux, 325 Jackson, and 509 Octavius. Commissioner German.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. I authorize the code coordinator to complete the sales of 466, 486 Erickson, 1172, 1243, 1357 Marquette, 1554 Marcoux, 325 Jackson, and 509 Octavius as described in the attached purchase agreement, and have the mayor and clerk sign the purchase agreement.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. Is the also the developer here tonight also, and later maybe he can come up and speak, but just a few questions. The lots, the vacant lots in this area, which some of them are in Ward 2 where I oversee. I'm just curious, what is the sale price for these?
75% of the true cash value. It's referenced in the purchase agreement on the last page.
Okay, yep, I did not see. Do you have that off the top of your head?
Well, it's $32,550, and it's broken down by individual address. If we scroll through the packet, you can see the last page of the purchase agreement.
I can, yeah, it's Exhibit
Eight
A.
lots.
8 lots,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is down there.
So the prices range, it looks like $2,625 up to $6,000.
That's correct.
Yeah.
6,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That was one concern, and I guess I just want to know what type of housing units are looking to be developed in this area. And
It's single-family housing. Steve, you want to speak to that?
So this is the second round. The first round, we did 14 homes up there.
Excuse me just a second. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Steve Benedict, the owner of Stevens Homes and Investments. So the first round last year we did 14, and I think 6 tri-levels and 8 ranches. The tri-levels are 1,900 square feet. The ranches are 1,498 square feet with full basements. The majority of these will be 2-story this time around because the lots are 33 feet wide. So I know there's 8 lots here, but there'll actually be 10 homes. 2 of these lots are being split, so we can get more building done, and not let so much go to waste.
And all these are single-family homes.
Yeah, they're all single family. Yep.
Right.
And the 2-story will be 1,458 square feet. So I know there's a lot of building 1,000, 900, 1,000, 1,100 square feet downtown. These are fairly big homes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Benedict while we have him at the podium? Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Benedict. I'm just curious, for the bigger ones, do you see those being 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom usually, or bigger?
All of them are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, except the tri-levels are 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
Okay. And because construction and none of that has started, you don't have price points for these?
So the first round, the tri-levels, I think we started out at 260. We couldn't build them fast enough, so I think we bumped the price to 272 and still have no issue. The ranches, we started out at 285, and every single one had multiple offers. The 2 stories, I think we're going to sell for 270 also.
Thank you, sir.
And to be fully transparent, the ranch that's 285, it costs us about $225,000 to build. By the time you put realtor costs and everything on that, you might walk away with maybe 12, 13% in return. What I can tell you, and I've told Jake this, is the same home we're building in Laketon Township, it's $105,000 more. So it's still fairly affordable to live in the city of Muskegon.
Yeah, definitely.
Commissioner Cochin, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Benedict, for being here tonight. Just a kind of follow-up question to piggyback off of Jay there. Can you speak to what the median average house that you guys have built in that area has been previously? Like as far as the cost goes?
You mean the sale price?
Yes, please.
If I had to average it to, you're probably 275, 276.
Okay, so these are following in trend with the other ones.
Yes, they'll all be, yeah, within the same. And I think that payment's like $2,200 a month. I think these people are paying with today's interest rates.
Okay, and then one more follow-up question. Do you know what the median sale price of homes in that area is that you're not building?
If I had to guess, so I can tell you, I remodeled one on Ducey, 1492, and I think we sold that one. I think it was like 160, 165. But that was 950 square feet, so I can't compare apples to apples. What I can tell you is all these are being sold for less than $200 a square foot, which is completely unheard of in the new building world. But we can keep the price down by buying 10 home packages at once, and that's the only way I can do it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Any other questions for Mr. Benedict at this time? Thank you, Mr. Benedict.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ms.
Poulos.
Poulos?
Yes.
Ms. Poulos? Commissioner Kilgo.
Yeah, not a question, but just a comment. Kind of like Mr. Benedict said, a lot of contractors who will come into any municipality and build, they're not going to touch anything unless they're making like a 20% profit margin or more. So the price points that they're doing these homes for in our area, they're really doing Muskegon a service by doing them for the prices that they're doing them, because construction costs aren't going down any on them, and then to pay their workers that they do. I just want to thank Mr. Benedict and other builders who come to the city of Muskegon and build without demanding as high of margins as they might demand in other places. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Mr. Manager.
And I just want to note the 75% of true cash value, that's a standard sale price that we do to anyone who comes to purchase a city lot. So this is the same the same type of deal that we give no matter who's coming to the table. So
This is in line with existing policy. Any other questions? Not done? All right. Thank you, Ms. Poulos. Yeah, welcomed addition of more houses in our city. We have a deficit of housing, and we need housing at all price points. And I am hopeful to see new families moving into these houses in our Jackson Hill and Marquette neighborhoods, and hopefully going to our public schools as well. But I can also see, professors at MCC or Baker, wanting to live close to where they work, wishing to buy these homes for their families, and could also maybe even see folks at the new county campus wanting to have some place close by to live in a brand new home. So, all right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. No public hearings, no unfinished business. Under new business, we did have city manager evaluation process that has been removed from tonight's meeting, and it's going to be on a work session in April and also on the general session the next day. So this coming to us in April. And then moving on to any other business, I want to highlight and as well as ask the commission their thoughts. One, I want to, if I can get my computer working. I want to, for the general community as well as to spark conversation with the commission, I want to share with the general community that our newly revived Parks and Recreation Department is holding a citywide park spring cleanup event this Friday, March 29th. Anyone and everybody is welcome to participate, whether you are a resident or of the city of Muskegon or you live elsewhere, and use our parks in any extent, or maybe grew up in the city and want to come back to your local neighborhood park and help clean it up. Volunteers are encouraged to bring work gloves, rakes, and leaf blowers if you happen to have one. Parks that will be cleaned up are Bucoma Playfield at 1188 Wesley Avenue, Marshfield at 1800 Peck Street, McGrath Park at 2204 Wickham Drive, Margaret Drake Elliott Park at 1651 Beach Street. Volunteers will be asked to meet at the bathhouse at Pure Marquette. Well, is it going to be the Pure Marquette bathhouse? No, it's probably going to be the, maybe. Anyhow, go to Margaret Drake Elliott Park at 1651 Beach Street. And then Reese Playfield at 1345 Forest Avenue. Volunteers will also be cleaning a section of the Laketon Trail there. Cypherth Park, 2250 West Sherman Boulevard. Sheldon Park, 1059 East Isabella Avenue. Smith Ryerson Park, 650 Wood Street. And finally, Veterans Memorial Park at 401 North Causeway. And so my question for the commission is, for anyone that shows up and volunteers, I'm wondering about the prospect of us giving them parking passes, a parking pass to Pure Marquette, well, anywhere that our parking passes work. So if it happens to be a resident, they'll just get an extra one because they're already getting parking passes. If they're non-resident, they'll get a free parking pass. But I did want to bring it to the commission to see if the commission supports that for the city manager to proceed accordingly in offering those complimentary parking passes to our beaches for volunteering. Commissioner Kilgo.
Clarification times for Friday?
Oh, it's 10:30.
10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m. for all of them.
And then to answer your question, for residents, like you said, they already get 2 passes. So our neighbors or people that don't live here, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay. Shaking your head, but same. Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin.
I do have one question, and that is, I want to say last year, didn't we run out of parking passes at one point?
I'm sorry, what?
Didn't we run out of parking passes at one point in the year? No? Okay, because residents were complaining that they couldn't get them, and so I wanted to just confirm that we're not going to give any out and we're not going to run out.
So we have 2 different types of parking passes. We've got residential and non-residential. So the residential ones are square and say resident on the side. The non-residential ones are circle. I think where we got complaints last year and the commission changed the policy was after, I think it was May 1st, residents could only get 1 pass, not 2. Prior to that date, it could get 2. We changed the policy to say no matter when a resident comes in, they can get 2 passes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Yeah, I would support.
Commissioner
Support,
Gorman,
yeah,
support it?
support, yep.
Commissioner Gorman, support it? All right. So you've got the commission's support to move forward with that. Excellent. Thank you, commissioners. Any other business to bring up at this time? Nope. Then we are going to go to public comment. First up, we have Ann Vandermolen joining us from the City of Roseville Park. Welcome.
Hi.
You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Okay, I have a little presentation for Women's History Month. First of all, I have this RIP Nex Benedict. If you don't know the situation, please Google it. Then I have Celebrate Women. I watched a great documentary on Mae West. I've read many books, autobiographies and biographies on other women in my life. But this is a great documentary about a strong woman. And ironically, Hollywood decided to try to replace these strong women like Mae West with children, ironically. Which brings me to my next point. Children, stop. Children are not sex toys or pornography. If you guys have been following the Drake Bell incident and all the Nickelodeon stuff, Brian Peck was convicted of sexually abusing Drake Bell from the show Drake and Josh. And there's a lot going on out in Hollywood right now with a lot of child actors coming forward. And they talked about how Brian Peck, they're all, thinking it's real freakish that he was a pen pal to John Wayne Gacy. And, thinking about that, I can't imagine if somebody like Brian Peck or Brian Peck himself danced at Dancing with the Stars out in Los Angeles with the LA County prosecutor. or any other law enforcement out in Los Angeles. And so I don't think it's happening out there, and it shouldn't be happening in Muskegon. And I filed a grievance with the Michigan State Bar Association against DJ Hilson. And I am in the process of filing another grievance against somebody else, because that should not be happening in our community. And I feel for the safety of women and children that I need to do this, and I'm doing some other things too, trying to file some other grievances against other people. And I would like to get in touch with Marcia Hovey-Wright, Ellen Beal, and Mary Valentine, Donna Secor Pennington, about a couple other concerns I have with this community. So I'm going to try to get in touch with them about filing some other grievances against other people. But, our community needs to think about safety. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vandermolen. Next up, we have Kendra Robinson joining us from Fruitport Township. Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Thank you. And I really, really want one of those parking passes, so I will be volunteering to clean up whatever park. I'm in Fruitport, so I paid for one in the past 2 years. But thank you all for having me this evening. I'm Kendra Robinson, and if you haven't met me before, I am a proud resident of this county, working in our public defender's office, now going into my 9th year. I primarily work for the 14th Circuit Court, which is dealing with all criminal offenses, and in the court every single day, working hard to serve the community of indigent people who do not have or cannot afford representation. I'm here to introduce myself to you all as a candidate running for probate court judge this year for a term ending this December. I can tell you that court works with neglect and abuse, juvenile delinquency, custody, those nature of court hearings. And I can tell you I have a passion for working for our community, but one thing that I know is very important, serving so many people in our community, thousands of people with hundreds of hearings a month, is that so many of my clients walk away and say, you know what, I did not like the decision I heard, but I respect that I left the courtroom and I felt heard. I felt that you listened to me. I felt that the judge heard what I had to say. Our evidence was actually allowed to be heard before I came in. And most of all, I believe that our community needs a judge that's going to be fair, consistent, and someone who has no other reason to be on the bench but to serve its people. I can tell you that's why I serve every day. I love the public defender's office, and if a judgeship office wasn't available to me, I'd probably stay there the rest of my life. So I don't have a lot of information to give to you other than a card. My website is kendrarobinsonforjudge.com. You are welcome to visit it, email me, call me. I know a lot of you see me on a daily basis on different places around, and so thank you for the time, and I hope to get your support August 6th in the primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Next up, we have John R. Allen joining us from the Nelson neighborhood. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Can I give you guys, before you start that, I got this.
Can you hand that to the clerk?
For everyone of the 14 violations that were submitted to Adelaide Point, and then these are pictures. This one specifically of the boat is what I'm using, use of our city property in a hazardous and unpermitted manner. I don't have enough ink to copy that many, but that's the main picture. The rest of them I just want you to look at as your.
Thank you. May begin.
Good evening. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I've given you a handful of pictures. I also know that they say actions will always speak louder than words. Since the cooperative use agreement for our city's chartered park and the Hartshorn Marina Management Agreement has been held by Adelaide Point, I have firsthand witnessed many detrimental actions and events that speak volumes. I brought you these pictures tonight to help convey the thousands of words I want to share with you but cannot fit in a mere 3 minutes. I hope you will take the time to look at these pictures and let the actions and the inactions that allowed these conditions to occur speak through you and this commission going forward. Yesterday, I firsthand witnessed a piece of city machinery and property being used for Adelaide Point development work by Adelaide Point employees not associated with or paid under the management contract of Hartshorn Municipal Marina. They were running the city of Muskegon's flat-bottom boat in an exceptionally unsafe and hazardous manner, throughout our mooring field and around the eastern end of Muskegon Lake, after using the boat for work in the Adelaide Point Marina Basin. The 3 employees had 0 personal flotation devices on board or on their person, as well as no other safety devices required by the United States Coast Guard. One employee, as pictured, rowed in a standing position at the bow of the boat while the other employee had the vessel at full throttle. This is insanely dangerous and opens us up as a city to major liability if they were to go overboard and be run over by the propeller of the motor or suffer any other forms of injury. As I've been a member of Hartshorn for nearly 10 years, I am acutely aware of this city boat and the rules that govern its use. Only city employees or those working for Hartshorn Municipal Marina with the proper training are allowed to use the boat, and only allowed to use the boat for work on marina or city property. I couldn't just go to DPW and take a backhoe or a lawnmower to use for my own personal business and game, could I? This action, among the many previous actions of the developer, their contractors, and their employees relative to our environment, our lake, our city park properties, and our city machinery is highly concerning and needs to be addressed. I spoke to our director of DPW today, and there was no agreement in place for the use of this vessel, making it even more concerning and problematic. This event and the misuse of our city machinery created an environment ripe for injury and liability, but this event is just one in a growing lineage of negligence and misuse of machinery around this project. Since the March 12th meeting, the Michigan Department of Environment and Great Lakes and Energy submitted the public violation and enforcement notice I just gave to all 7 of you regarding the actions of Adelaide Point that resulted in the destruction of wetlands through unpermitted dredging and negative environmental impact to Muskegon Lake, as well as the actions of Adelaide Point that occurred on our city chartered park property, including the spreading of unpermitted contaminated sand along our seawall. Item 2 states, Adelaide Point LLC QOZB discharged sediment into Muskegon Lake in quantities that may become injurious. I find this appalling, and I hope something will be done about it.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? We're going to be going to the phones. You may dial in 231-724-6721. When you call in, please turn down any audio you have in the background. And when we answer the phone, please announce your name and which neighborhood you're from, if you live in the city of Muskegon, and if you're not a city resident, which other municipality you may be calling from. All right, no phone calls?
No, Mayor.
Then, Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Cochin. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Take care and be well.
Cloudy with a temperature of 50. In neighboring states, Milwaukee with 44 degrees under cloudy skies.